Check. Hello, hello. Is there anybody out there? How's it going, Bull? Let's see. Live chat. Microphone plugged in. My little thing's not moving. Okay, there it goes. I just got to speak more loudly straight into the thingamabob. How is life for my viewers? No one's here right now, so all you guys are the replay crew is where it's at. That's really what keeps your channel alive, so I hear, on the streets of YouTube. I'll just go through my regular stuff while people come in, because of course I'm a little late. I said yesterday that I'd try to come on between 11 and 1 East Coast time, and I didn't even put up my live until a little bit after 1, and then I scheduled it for 1:45. So here we are, 1:47, 1:48. It just switched. Please hit your like button if you don't mind. Hello, is that Anna Bees? Somebody's here. It's got to be Anna Bees, but it could be anybody. It could be someone that accidentally stumbled into my live. But hello, whoever you are. Thank you for being here. Please make sure you're still subscribed if you are subscribed. If you're not, consider doing so. It is something that takes you like a split second. So it is a tiny bit of effort, but barely. And there's no commitment and it's free. So if you're not subscribed, try it. And then if I make you upset, you can always cancel. No problem. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel. Turn on your notification bell to ring a ding ding, I like to say. And what else? I've got my hat on about love will save the day, is what it says here. What does my hat here say? My hat here says, love is all you need. Of course, I knew that. I knew that's all I need. But, self-love, love of humanity, love your brother, love your mother, love God, love thy neighbor, all that good stuff. Okay. I have a lot I want to talk about today. I have had 2-hour videos the last couple of days, and I'm hoping not to have it be that long today, just because, but you never know. It just depends, like, who comes in, how the conversation goes, and if I get through all my material or not, or if the lights go out. There's no storm right now, unfortunately, because I love the storms. Did I do all my thing? I didn't do my disclaimer. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. And that's it. Here we go. I got my Tic Tacs, my giant jumbo orange Tic Tac, so that I can try to preserve my voice. I got my ice water. I got my cranberry juice and sparkling water. I mean vodka. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So let me start with chewing my orange Tic Tacs. Man, they take me back to when I was 8 years old. I don't know if that's when they first invented them or if it's just when I first discovered them. Oh my God. I got an email from the high school that I would have gone to. You're not going to believe this. The high school that Stephen Miller went to, Santa Monica High School. The high school that I would have gone to had I not been forced to move to Ohio because my father finally gave up custody of me and my sister. Thank God. Thank God I got out of California. I mean, I love California, but it's a little overcrowded and not enough water. And all those fires and mudslides and riots, and it just goes on and on and on. Too many movie stars. Anyway, Stephen Miller went to Santa Monica High School. I cried every day for a year that I was at a dumb Ohio school with cows and cornfields surrounding me, instead of like Samo High with the beach right there and all the babes and the surfboards and blah, blah, blah. Okay, where was I? I was going to look up this article that I meant to read to you guys yesterday, and I kind of forgot and ran out of time. I had mentioned it once or twice. So all that crap about, the DOJ denial of, like, why don't they just say Epstein never existed? He was just a figment of our imagination. Oh my God. After I did my live yesterday, I saw the best post of all time in all of humanity. I can't stand Elon Musk, but you go, girl. This was something that Elon Musk posted yesterday morning, but I didn't see it until the afternoon. Did you guys see it? It says, "What's the time? Oh, look, it's no one has been arrested o'clock again. The official Jeffrey Epstein pedophile arrest counter 0000." I saw that, and like I said, I was just like, you go, girl. I didn't see it till late in the afternoon, so I could have been like thinking about that for 12 hours. It would have made me so happy. And it's been a hard time with this crap. Sorry, I got like my lips are peeling. They do that a lot. That's why I'm always putting on chapstick. The thing in Texas with all the deceased children, I don't know if they've found any of the last 11 from Mystic Camp yet. So the 11 is a camp counselor who I assume is probably a young adult, like somewhere late teens, early 20s. And then the children, the 10 children that are unaccounted for, missing, that are all in that youngest age range from 8 to 9. But I did find out they do have a few, maybe a small handful of 7-year-olds. So that would be little kids that finish second grade, but they haven't yet turned 8, obviously, if they're 7. But the minimum age isn't so much an age, it's just that you have to have finished second grade to go to Camp Mystic. And they're not really advertising, of course, that all of those missing 10 campers with the one camp counselor, that those are all from that youngest age range of the kids that were going into third grade. So 8 years old and 9 years old. I don't think any of the 7-year-olds are missing, but that could be inaccurate since they're not really talking about it. I don't even know how I stumbled across that information, but I'm glad that I did. And okay, I just want to start reading this. This is the thing about the female police officer that was injured in the January 6th. The riots, the Day of Love, whatever the F you want to call it. So this is some post from Tom Digby. If you're familiar with him, he's great. So this is his post from a couple of days ago. I think the day before yesterday. Caroline Edwards played a significant role during the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. She was the first Capitol police officer to be injured by the mob of rioters on that day. Edwards was stationed on the west front of the Capitol at the start of the attack and signaled on the Capitol Police radio that her first responder unit needed help, alerting several other officers around the Capitol that the police were being overrun by the mob. During the attack, Edwards was pushed over with a bike rack by Ryan Samsel, hit her head on a handrail, which cracked her skull and gave her a concussion, caused her to lose consciousness. She awoke minutes later and continued her defense, engaging in hand-to-hand combat for hours. Her concussion caused permanent traumatic brain injury effects. Edwards detailed the severe injuries she sustained trying to defend the Capitol from insurrectionists, telling the House January 6th committee one of the things she remembers most is looking out and seeing, quote, the absolute war zone the West Front had become, end quote. Hey, whoever's here, if you want to say hi. It looked like somebody was here and then nobody was here and now somebody's here again. So probably a different person. Anyway, might be the same. If you want to say hi, if you don't, that's cool too. No problem. I just encourage the interaction because that's why I come live, because it makes it more interesting, I think, for all of us, really. But anyway, on with this. She tried to protect the Capitol that day. She was tear gassed and knocked down to the ground, at one point losing consciousness. At another time that day, she held the line against the rioters with Officer Brian Sicknick, who she described as, quote, ghostly pale. Sicknick collapsed the evening of the attack, suffering 2 strokes and dying the next day. Edwards was present at the Capitol steps when members of who she identified at Thursday's hearing as the Arizona Proud Boys and one of their leaders, Joseph Biggs, began to approach the building. She testified during a hearing by the Select Committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol on June 9th, 2022. Interesting that kind of coincides with Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. It was July 2022. Dang it, Nancy! Hello! I've been missing you, mostly just because I love saying your handle. How are you doing? But also because you're so dear to me. You're an OG, right? How's your life? Thank you for coming in and thank you for saying hi. Oh, and there's a couple others. Yay. But yeah, you were the first. You get the pin message. Okay, I'm going to try to finish this up. This is a really good article one of my mods sent me, and I'm so glad they did. Where was I? U.S. Capitol on June 9th, 2022 in Washington, D.C. In her testimony, she described the events of January 6th as, quote, carnage and, quote, chaos, stating, quote, I can't even describe what I saw. Oh, sorry, there's a lawnmower in the background. It'll be quick. How annoying. Okay. I would like wait to come onto my live if I knew that they were going to be mowing the lawn, but maybe you can't even hear it. It's fading anyway. I can't even describe what I saw. Never in my wildest dreams did I think as a police officer, law enforcement officer, I would find myself in the middle of a battle, end quote. Edwards had been recognized for her bravery, receiving the Presidential Citizens Medal in 2023. Oh, is that Trump that gave that to her? Of course, I'm kidding. He should have been the president because, it was he won. They faked him out. They stole it from him. Bullcrap. Okay. Her actions during the J6. Let me just insert right there. For a long time, I never believed that he believed that or that any of his stooges and sycophants believed that. But after I believe that I saw the 2024 election get hijacked by his candidacy, and I believe now, I was always suspicious, but now I fully believe that the 2016 one was hijacked by his candidacy too. And so my personal opinion is that he was told, yeah, we got this. It's in the bag during the 2020 election. And that his people didn't follow through. Like they saw what a madman he was, and they were just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, sure, Donnie boy, we got this. You're in like Flynn, and they blew him off. And they can't ever admit to that or, off with their heads. And so that's, in my opinion, why he really believes that he won that election and then it was stolen from him, because he believed that his cheaters cheated and won that election the way I believe they cheated and won 2016 and cheated and won 2024. But that in the 2020 election, they said they did, but they didn't. But that's why he can't get it through his head that he didn't win, because he's like, well, I know I won because my people, they cheated and they told me that they did it real good. So I mean, who knows? I mean, he's demented and he's crazy and he's a liar and he'll never admit defeat anyway. But that's just my little spin on things. My opinion at this moment, and it has been for a couple of months now, I kind of like, it just dawned on me one day, like, oh, he really thinks he won. because they cheat. And his people told him that they did it, that it was going to be done, that he won, but they were just lying to him to placate him and to get him to shut up and go away. And so some of those people probably have had, misadventures, fatal misadventures since then. And some of those people are probably the tightest in his little sycophant circle and in his cabinet. And they're scared to death if he ever finds them out. That it's just an opinion. It's just a possibility. Anyway, let's get back to this. I figured if I didn't interrupt myself, I would forget to tell you that. And I know I've described it a little bit here and there once or twice, but not much. And yeah. Where are we? The carnage and the chaos. Can't even describe what I saw. She's been recognized. Her actions. So that was the Presidential Citizens Medal in 2023. That's where I left off. Her actions during the January 6th attack have been highlighted as an example of heroism, particularly in the face of severe personal risk and injury. Prior to January 6th, Samsel had been in and out of jail for various misdemeanors and some felonies for a span of 15 years. When he went down to D.C. on January 6, 2021, he was on parole and wanted for an assault in New Jersey. And this text was partially generated by artificial intelligence, just FYI. So, since Trump just attempted to downplay the horrific actions of the January 6th rioters he pardoned, here is the truth. This is Officer Caroline Edwards. She was attacked by the insurrectionists on January 6th. They cracked her head open, resulting in a permanent brain injury. For all those who support Trumpster Fires pardons and say you, quote, back the blue, you don't. You support fascism. So, I don't know if I should read this. Brand new post. I'll just go ahead and read it so then I can decide with you whether I should have or not. Yeah. Outside the New Haven Public Library about 9 a.m. this morning. That's today, the 8th of July, 2025. Just in case you're watching this in the future, right? Outside the New Haven Public Library about 9 a.m. this morning. Guy on right is wearing ATF, which sometimes works with ICE. Another guy is wearing something that says police on it in black letters, in quotes, police. Are they actually law enforcement agents of some sort, or just thugs who bought their gear off Amazon? Where do they recruit these guys? What qualifications do they specify? Don't they all pretty much look alike? It's beginning to seem like it's just a matter of height and weight and an urgent need to prove one's, quote, manhood, end quote. And there's only one comment because it's a brand new post. And the comment says, I have no doubt Proud Boys and, quote, militias are grabbing innocent people and committing all kinds of crimes. And actually, there is a brand new comment on there that says Schittler's private Gestapo. And let's see. I was going to try to show you the picture, but I don't think I can. Oh, yeah, here we go. So what library was this? In New Haven Public Library. It's a beautiful old building. And it looks to me, can you see this? It looks to me like there's 3 ICE officers. Like there's the guy in the tan pants, 1, the guy in the black, all black, 2, and then there's one behind him that he's kind of blocking, 3. And yeah, they are all kind of the same height and weight, aren't they? They're probably about, I'm going to guess 6 feet, maybe 6'1". And then that much shorter person looks to me like a female, and it looks to me like she has dark hair and slightly dark skin, not real dark. But my guess is that they're giving her a hard time, to say the very least. Dang it, Nancy says, yes, I've been here with you since day one. I'm in Texas and truly saddened by the devastation of the flood and all the children passed at the summer camp. Isn't it nuts? Where about in Texas are you? My daughter is going to a business convention in Austin next week, and it just kind of terrifies me. I mean, even though Austin is a big city and Texas is a huge state and it's a couple hours east of where those floods were, at least a couple hours east of, I think, where the Mystic Camp is. It's just devastating. It's absolutely devastating. It's surreal that that many people are missing and that many fatalities. I guess the last time I checked, it was about 105 was the official count. I haven't checked in the last maybe 2 hours, so maybe it's gone up since then. But I'm sure it'll keep climbing. The last time I checked, they still hadn't found those 11 campers, the 10 kids and the one camp counselor. They still hadn't found that. And I wonder if that camp counselor was assigned to where those 10 8 and 9-year-olds were. I mean, man, we can hope for a miracle, right? That they're like in a cave somewhere and she's taking care of them all and they're fine. But we all know that that's way beyond a hopeful miracle, that chances are, trigger warning, chances are that they are separated by miles and miles of mud and debris. Chances are it's going to be really hard to find any of them, if they find any of them, and hopefully they will find them. It would be nice for the families to be able to lay their loved ones to rest. And it's so devastating. And I want to make mention here of how disgusting Ted Cruz is. And I've always found him to be one of the most despicable humans that I've ever witnessed, not in real life, but just on the, news. He's evil, vile. I remember him going to Cancun when there was a giant hurricane coming through his state, coming through Houston, which I think is right where he lived. And he got on a freaking airplane. Not only did he get an airplane and go on a family vacation to someplace tropical, I think it was Houston. Anyway, it was like probably 5 years ago. He also had to have police motorcade get him and his family to the airport. So that meant that in this time of crisis, with this hurricane coming through and people in utter chaos and despair and danger, that he took a bunch of first responders out of commission so that he could go to the airport to go to Cancun with his family. And then right now, I guess he's in Greece. No, maybe he came back. I think he was in Greece when the floods happened on the 4th of July. And apparently the day after that, like around the 5th of July, so Saturday, he was checking out some ancient ruins, and another tourist saw him and said something to him. Like, what did they say? What did I hear they said? Like, nice to see you're on vacation during another crisis in your state, or something like that, something roughly to that effect. And Ted Cruz just smiled and waved and, agreed. Yeah, it's nice that I'm on vacation, basically. Essentially, that's the gist that I got anyway. And then he has since come back to the States and to Texas. And I saw him on news stations interviewed yesterday saying the most despicable things you could say. if you were a parent missing one of your children, or if you were any family member who lost a loved one, whether their remains had been found or not, but especially for the ones whose remains are not found yet, and they know that they might never be found. Um, he said something to the effect of, to everyone, like, hug your children. Yes, I picked up my daughters from the camp. I don't think they were at that camp. I think they were at a different camp, and he picked them up a few days earlier or something. And he was like, yeah, just hug your kids, because that's all you got. It's the best thing in the world. Hug your kids. Imagine you're one of these people who lost your kids and you're hearing him say this. Like, yeah, I wish I could hug my kids. And then he said something addressing those unfortunate people, something to the effect of, there's these people that lost their kids, and that's horrible, but they'll get through it. They'll get through it. It's not what you say to someone offering condolences. It's like kind of the opposite of what you say to somebody to offer condolences. What a despicable piece of crap he is. And he's just like the rest of the Trumpster Fire administration, in my opinion. He said all kinds of things trying to defend his dear leader. All kinds of crap. Like, can we just end the shenanigans and the charade and fix the problem? I mean, in my opinion, the problem is much bigger than him. It's all the freaking billionaire oligarchs, Peter Thiel and others like him. And it's freaking the oligarch that's in charge of the former USSR. And it's the fascism. And I don't think that I have not thought that Trumpster Fire is working for the best interest of our country. I think he's working for the best interest of himself, and pretty much that's it. But in the best interest of himself is to placate people like Vladdy, because Vladdy probably has some of those tapes that get referred to. And he also probably owes Vladdy hundreds and bazillions of dollars from when he was bankrupt. I mean, other than the 6 times that he filed bankruptcy in court, I'm sure he was bankrupt all the time. And he was always trying to leverage cash out of people and out of institutions, which is why he's like hell bent on destroying some of these institutions like Columbia University, who wouldn't play. He tried to make them buy property from him 20 or 30 years ago in New York City to the tune of like 100 million or 20 million dollars, money that he desperately needed. The bank wouldn't give him a loan, and Vladdy did. I think that Vladdy came through. Or, I don't think that he was the leader of his country back then, but they've he's had tight affiliations with that country since the 80s. And he did like the beauty pageants there, the swimsuit pageants. I want you to know, dang it, Nancy, and any other viewers, that the painting that I used for my thumbnail is not a photograph. Those are not real children. That's a painting. The little kids in their swimsuits. That's a painting that was in Jeffrey Epstein's collection. And it's like, those kids look so small to me. They look like they could be as young as 4 and 5 and maybe as old as 8 or 9, which is kind of why I used it in as a tribute to the horrors of the children that are still lost in Texas, and all the children that have been, they're only telling us the fatalities. They're not telling us about the people that are like in comas, maybe with head injuries, maybe with lost limbs. They're not saying anything about that. They're acting like there's 100 fatalities and everybody else is fine except the 11 that we can't find, right? Everybody's traumatized. I mean, obviously, the whole freaking world is traumatized over it. And the kids and the adults, all the people that were there at the camp that survived, they're going to live with that survivor's guilt forever. It's going to be a tough road. Um, DFW, do you want me to meet her there and hold her hand? Oh. I don't know what DFW means. I have to look that up, but that's cute. Yeah, my daughter who's going to Austin. Are you in Austin? Some officials, and you don't need to answer that. Some officials are going to lose their jobs over this one. Well, I'm hoping that the dear leader will lose his job over this because he never should have been put into that position. There still hasn't been the election verification. There's more and more statisticians that can show their work to prove that this election was hijacked. And we need to get him out of office and into jail, in my opinion, before more damage is done. They've done so much damage already. It's going to take years to undo the damage that they've done. And some of the damage is not ever going to be undone, like lives lost. They found 2 deceased girls holding hands when they found them. I know that the sisters, I think I wrote their names down. I'm pretty sure I did. There's also twins. The twins were Hannah and Rebecca Lawrence, identical twins. Those weren't the ones holding hands. The sisters that I saw that they found holding hands, I think they were like the younger one was about 8 or 9 and the older one was like 11 or something like that. But I think I wrote their names down too. Let me see. Didn't I? Kelly Ann Little is a name that I wrote down. I think that's one of the kids that's either deceased or missing. And I thought that that was interesting that the name is Kellyanne, because remember Kellyanne Conway, a huge Trumpster Fires sycophant, whose husband is not, ex-husband, they've since gotten a divorce, George Conway. He's an amazingly intelligent, articulate attorney and political talking head. I think he has his own channel. He's on a lot of other channels. Let's see, where did I put my phone? It's in my hand. George Conway. I just want to know what his channel is, and I can direct you guys there. George Conway YouTube channel. So him and Kellyanne Conway were married for over 20 years through the first Trump administration. She was one of the most outspoken sycophants of Trump's, and George was quite the opposite. They had 3 or 4 kids. They stayed married up until a couple years ago. So he's on the Bulwark, which is a wonderful channel. That's one of the best, in my opinion. And I think that he's got a piece, like a routine where he's basically one of their reporters, and his segment is called Conway Explains. George Conway explains it all to Sarah Longwell. So Sarah Longwell is one of their top producers, and George Conway is freaking amazing. I'd always heard really good things about him. I had no idea who he was. And then when I found him on Bulwark, and I'm just like, who is this guy? And then I finally figured out who he was, that he was Kellyanne Conway's ex-husband. But before I knew that, I'd already determined my opinion of him as that he was one of the most articulate, highly intelligent, and compassionate people I've ever heard speak. George Conway, Kellyanne Conway's ex-husband. Okay, I'm going to set that down and keep up with you, my dear. So they found the two. Wow, that was the painting. How did the billionaires become so sick? Is it boredom? Such a good question, dang it, Nancy. It's probably a lot of drug addiction, just to get straight to the point and to be blunt. Um, in my experience, I knew a lot of super wealthy people in California, especially in Malibu, but the super wealthiest lived like in Bel Air and Brentwood, Brentwood, Bel Air, West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, the super wealthiest at that point in time in the late 70s, early 80s, like way wealthier than most of the people in Malibu. It might be a different demographic now. There were a lot of rich people in Malibu, don't get me wrong, but the super wealthy ones wanted to stay closer to where they made their money. It took a long time to get to and from the city from Malibu, especially with the fires and the mudslides and all the rest of it. So everybody that I knew that was super wealthy had a major drug problem, every single one of them. And I won't name any names because, hopefully they have found their sobriety. Uh, what do you do when you have all the money in the world and you have everything you want and you have houses all over the world and yachts and, hot babes throwing themselves at you? What more is there? Like, most of them get high as a effing kite every day, in my opinion, in my experience. So even the ones that say that they're different and they're in recovery, turns out that they weren't, that they just changed substances. And I've been in recovery for almost my entire adult life, since I was 22. So coming up on 35 years this fall. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to like show my war scars, basically, because getting sober is really tough. Staying sober is really tough. Um, but your options are few. Basically, if you're an addict and you don't get sober, you're not going to last that long. And if you do, if you're one of the few that evades fatality, uh, you're just like a shell. You're probably, the lights are on, but nobody's home kind of thing. So that's my answer to that question that I highlighted there. Wow, that was the painting. How did the billionaires become so sick? Is it boredom? And then, the other addiction is the sex, and then wanting what's taboo, wanting what you can't have, wanting what's illegal, wanting what nobody else can afford. I mean, that might be part of the whole pedo profile. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that kind of thing, and I'm not going to claim to be. I don't want to be. There are people that are experts in that kind of thing, so I'll leave it to them. Dallas Fort Worth. Oh, thank you. That's what the DFW is. So I've been to Dallas Fort Worth. I stayed in the Magnolia Hotel, which you can see the grassy knoll from the Magnolia Hotel, where and the book depository across the street. So that's right where JFK was shot. So I didn't realize that JFK is the one who started USAID, USAID, that has been completely canceled now as of, I think, either yesterday or a week prior to yesterday, that it's completely gone. That the US aid is no more. Like, a lot of people have already passed away because of not having the resources that USAID provided. And so they were originated in 1961. I looked this up right before I came on just now, and it was JFK that started it. So, Donnie, in his infinite wisdom, tanked it, killed it. And yeah, I loved Dallas. I really loved Dallas. I thought it was a cool place. Super cool. I was pleasantly surprised because, it's the reputation that it had in my mind was just like rich oil tycoons, and I'm sure that that is a lot of it, but it's a pretty cool place. It's a pretty cool city. The chief of the fire department was in tears, said if he would have sent out help, they could have saved so many lives. I know. I've been watching so many interviews and so much coverage. I mean, I want to know how the F did this happen? How the F did this happen? I think that people are being very squirrely about the timeline, about there's a lot of jobs in the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association and the weather forecasters. Some of those are probably one and the same. Some of them are different. I'm not real knowledgeable about that stuff, but I know that a lot of those positions are currently open. Like they're posted online as like the regional director of advanced weather alert warning. That position is open right now. Like that, Doge forced a lot of these people out. Doge fired a lot of these people, and they also forced early retirements. So a lot of these people vacated their positions and they don't have them filled. And I want to say it's about 20% in that area that are vacant, the positions. And it's not like there's that many jobs. Like in a little region where you might have 8, that would mean that you might have 6. Like I think there were 5 that were working at that regional location station that night. I don't know if they go on site or if they're just on call working remotely from home. But in my research and in my understanding, there was 5 people from the national weather or regional weather severe weather alert system organization. I mean, I'm just not very knowledgeable in all this stuff, so I'm just telling you what I've found out, and please tell me what you know. So that was the normal number that they would have had on that night. That was the normal number that they would have on in a high high risk alert night. So at least there's that. At least it was like 5 for 5. But I think they're being very squirrely about the timeline. They're being very squirrely about the alerts. I don't think I told, and I don't think I reported it in my video yesterday. The one interview that I saw was with this young man that owned like the general store in the area near where the Camp Mystic is. And I think he lived and worked in the building that the general store was in. And he was walking through the house in the interview with news crews, and the place was basically empty. I mean, there was a little bit of furniture in there, but not much. There was mud not only on the walls, but even on the ceiling. The entire place had filled up with water, and the furniture was like going out the doors and out the windows. And he was able to swim out of a window. Luckily, he didn't get cut, because I know that a lot of people were horribly injured in situations like that, trying to swim out of windows or breaking windows and then not surviving because of the injuries from breaking the window. Anyway, he was able to swim out the window, and then he, I mean, you got to imagine this water is so strong. So you're going to have to hold on to anything you can, or you're going to go under. And even if you're holding on to stuff, you are very likely to go under, depending on how secure whatever it is that you're holding on to. So he was able to climb, like holding onto the outside of his building, and climb up onto the meter reader. And he was standing on the meter reader, and he was trying to get up to the rooftop. But when he tried to climb up the rain gutter, it tore down. So he stood on that meter reader box for 3 hours before he was rescued, with all that water rushing around him. He had his cell phone. And shortly after he was standing on the meter reader and trying to climb up is when he got the severe flood alert on his cell phone. And his words were, "No shit, Sherlock." So again, the time frame is kind of squirrely. It seems like that critical time was probably about 4:45 in the morning, in my estimation and my best guess. I think they sent out the first alerts at about 1, the second alerts at about 2:30. Things started to get bad after 4, and then demolished maybe before 5. And I don't know how early it gets light there, but I'm curious, like the videos that I've seen of the where they speed it up, the time lapse videos of the river rising, it looks like it's light out. So I don't know if that's like 5:30 in the morning and it gets light that early, or I don't know if that's like 6 in the morning and it's a different area, or I don't know if it's like infrared light and that video was made in the dark. I mean, because a lot of that type of surveillance footage, I think, is like military and it's infrared light, I think. So it will look like it's day even when it's night. So, what is your opinion on BK? Oh, dang it, Nancy. Thank you for that question. I would love to talk more about that. Did you see that Drip Drop just dropped a new one today about that? And he titled it, I'm sorry, BK guilty, or Koberger guilty. I apologize, or something like that. But I was just like, oh, I hope not. I hope that's a bait and a switch for all the guilters. And it was. And he nailed it. I wrote down a quote of his that I thought was so good. He I can barely say it. It's kind of funny, but it's sad, and you got to remember there's tragedy attached to this. Um well, first of all, on the plea agreement that Koberger signed, it was dated July 1st, but it was typed in there June, and they put a line through June and wrote July without initialing it, and that makes it a defunct. That's not a legal form. You have to initial. If you strike something, you have to initial it. So they typed up that plea agreement in June, but he didn't sign it till July 1st, and it looks like it's probably his writing that struck through June and wrote July, but nobody initialed it. So what the F is that? Anyway, that was interesting. And he called the people the pro burgers, like I guess you could say I'm a pro burger, he's a pro burger. I mean, I don't feel like I am. And but he said the pro burgers versus the low IQ deranged guilters. And I'm not even sorry if that offends somebody. If you're a low IQ deranged guilter, then so be it. I'm not saying that everybody that thinks that he's guilty is a low IQ deranged guilter, but I think this whole like little, what he called, and again, I'm going to give him credit because he put this into words so brilliantly, like it's not time for the happy feet and celebrating the best day of your lives with fireworks because this guy who may or not be guilty said that he's guilty. Like, who are you to be celebrating it as if it's the best day of your life? Like, if he did do it, don't you think that there should have been a trial? Don't you think that the families deserve the truth? Don't you think there should be justice? Don't you think that he should maybe get the death penalty if he did do it? Come on. Like, that's not a happy thing. A lot of the family members are devastated. They're destroyed over the plea agreement, as probably any of us would be. So that's my opinion on BK. Dang it, Nancy. Is I'll put a link in the description to Drip Drop's new video because I think it's really good. It very accurately articulates a lot of my thoughts and feelings about the case. Is that had it gone to trial, we might actually know some things that we don't know. We absolutely don't know. They still don't have the weapon and all that crap with the sheath. The sheath was sent to a company in Texas called Othram that I just looked up today. I mean, I've looked it up many times, but I've never looked up this part specifically. The Othram is for cold cases. Othram specifically works on cold cases. This case wasn't a cold case. So why were they involved? And then let me keep reading what you got here. And I'm curious what your opinion is on BK. Yesterday, Fred Field asked me my opinion about, what was it? Something political. And I gave him my deranged opinion. But then I was like, I should have asked him what his opinion was. I think I have to say I'm glad I'm not a millionaire. K-Mac, nice to see you. And I don't know what this number 1, number 2 with the crowns is, but I like it. I mean, it makes you guys special. It makes me feel special. Dang it, Nancy says void. And I'm not sure what that means. Some channel was saying if Kaylee's family was going to return the money since there's no trial. Oh, dang it, Nancy. That's a really good point. I mean, my opinion would be that, they should keep the money because of all the heartache and trouble probably working and, almost like, when you get money for damages and you get um, money for your pain and suffering, basically. But yeah, all the families deserve that. And one of the things that Drip Drop brought up that I hadn't thought about because, my brain just can't comprehend all of the flood of information going on. So the firefighters that were ambushed in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, I think it was like 9 days ago. That was just a day or two before the plea agreement. It sounded like from the way Drip Drop was talking about it. So he was saying that one of the 3 firefighters that was ambushed, so 2 were deceased. I think 1 survived. But out of the 3 that were shot, that one of them was like a Koberger doppelganger. And I didn't have a chance to look into that yet, so I don't know what he's talking about. But it was just really interesting the way he processed the information and the way he presented it. So again, like I said, I will put a link in the description, and I need to text one of my mods real quick. And just let them know I'm on live. Because she's texting me, I'm on live. I used to always text my mods to let them know when I was coming on live, but I didn't. I decided I just kind of quit doing that because I don't want them to feel obligated. I really appreciate my viewers. I really appreciate my mods. And, if it fits into your day, great. And if it doesn't, don't sweat it. So, yeah, I did highlight that one about some channel was saying if Kaylee's family was going to return the money since there's no trial. So yeah, they did a bunch of like, wasn't it the GoFundMe's so that they could travel to Boise? The trial was going to be in Boise. Again, I don't agree with everything that anybody says, including myself. I say some things that I'm later like, no, I disagree with that. I don't know what I was thinking, or I was ill-informed, or I just changed my opinion. Anyway, Drip Drop had this theory that Koberger looked really tan, and he's just like, how can that be? He's been in solitary confinement. And, and I'm thinking people just look different in different lighting. And then he pointed out, like, you can't say it's the lighting because his hair looks lighter and his skin looks darker. And I think you can still say it's the lighting, that can be like an optical illusion. I mean, I know lighting can be very tricky stuff. Like when I'm on right now, I look like a decent skin tone color. But then when I watch my video later, I look really red and orange and I'm just like WTF. And then I try to counteract it with the blue and the green, and I don't want to look blue or green. I'd rather look a little bit red or orange. And I don't want to look all ghostly white either. It's really hard to get lighting with technology. These apparatuses, these devices, they have minds of their own when it comes to lighting and focus and stuff like that. So like a lot of times things look really big when they're not really big, and things look really small when they're not really small. Like sometimes people's noses will look really big, or sometimes their noses will look too small, and it's just like, OMG, man. It's these weird like fisheye things. Anyway, where was I? About Kaylee's family and BK and what Crime Circus was saying about his coloring. So, yeah, he was looking at different photographs of Koberger next to photographs of himself, like from early in the case, or like that ridiculous photograph that's allegedly a selfie that he took in the bathroom, like right after he did it. And he's like the ninja nerd, avenge of the ninja nerds, with his white collar buttoned all the way up on his pencil neck, and his face is like all deformed looking. His coloring is like beyond pale, like it is the color of a deceased individual, like a waterlogged deceased individual, and his hair is like jet black, like a vampire, and his eyebrows are huge and bushy and black, and his nose is like extra big and fat and deformed, way more than normal. He does have quite a nose on him, but sometimes it looks fine and other times it looks hideous. And that photograph is one of the most hideous photos of him or anybody. And he's in the bathroom and it's like all weird. Like it doesn't even look like a real photo. It looks all artsy. Like the background doesn't look real. Anyway, that photo next to what he looked like in court when he pled guilty, when he was addressing the courts for the plea agreement, and how he looked kind of tan and his hair looked lighter. He almost looked like he didn't have eyebrows. Like Drip Drop was like, they must have lightened his eyebrows. And I'm like, lightened? I think they waxed them. Like they're gone. Seriously, like check it out in the Drip Drop video when I link it up, or you can find it yourself. So yeah, I'm in pretty much full agreement with Crime Circus's opinion on the matter. Is like, yeah, if he is guilty, I have no sympathy for him if he is guilty. However, I'm absolutely not convinced of his guilt whatsoever. And in fact, I'm more convinced that the whole thing is a bunch of effery because of the plea agreement. And then what? Ann Taylor, I mean, she's part of that administration that's prosecuting him. I mean, she's another graduate of the University of Idaho. I was very suspicious of her to begin with, especially because not only had she represented Xana's mother, Xana Kernoodle's mother, who has a different last name. I can't think of her name right now. Kara. And it's not Kara Kernoodle, it's something else. Kara Northrington, I think. Is that her name? The mom who had a substance abuse problem was allegedly arrested for like having millions of dollars worth of fentanyl. I have no idea if that's true and accurate, but that was going back 2.5 years. That was the situation. And then there was Madison Mogen's biological father and her stepmom that was married to her biological father, that they'd also been busted, rug busts, and that Ann Taylor had represented each of them. So she had represented two of the victims' parents, well, three parents altogether, but two of the victims. And she tried to say there was no conflict of interest because she didn't really know them well, or it was other people in her office. It was just her name on the paperwork or whatever. I I don't buy it. I think it's a conflict of interest is a conflict of interest, and you need to keep it clean AF, especially in a death penalty case. But then you had that freaking Mabbott coroner weirdo nurse, also an attorney. You know, Kathy Mabbott, the coroner in the case. She's also a defense attorney, and there was a man who threatened his own safety and his estranged wife's safety and her child or children's safety with a knife. He was arrested a sharp-edged object. He was arrested like a week after the Idaho 4 case. But I could look him up and get his name and everything so you know what I'm talking about, but you could find it too just from Googling some of the buzzwords. He had been arrested like 15 years prior for shooting somebody and or stabbing somebody. I think it was a bullet. And Kathy Mabbott did the autopsy on the victim, and then she represented the perp in court, and he got sentenced to like 2 years of prison, I think, and 13 years probation or something like that. So had he been convicted he was convicted, but he was on probation. He was still like at the tail end of his probation when this dangerous situation happened, the domestic violence with the child and himself, when he was arrested. And at first they thought, well, maybe he's another suspect, but then it all just evaporated. Maybe because of the situation that it was making not only Kathy Mabbott look so shady, it was making the city of Moscow look ridiculously shady, in my opinion, that they would allow that they would allow the coroner who did the autopsy on the victim to then represent the perpetrator as their defense attorney. That's a conflict of interest. Like, she would know too much about the details of the forensics that would give her client an unfair advantage. And then he got the lightest sentence imaginable for red rum. And then he's out there endangering himself and a domestic partner and a child. Like, give me an effing break, man. Moscow's ridiculous, especially when it comes to sexist crap. Like, it's a weird state. And I said Moscow. What I meant was Idaho. Idaho is really whack-a-doodle when it comes to all this stuff. And then, like, why did they insert the whole thing with the Handmaid's Tale into the Idaho 4 case with that crap about Margaret Atwood and her book signing that Koberger allegedly went to, and he's sitting there with his book in his lap and his head looking like it's all pasted on the body wrong. Like, I know that she did do a book signing it wasn't at DeSales University. It was like at the community college that he went to. I think, I want to say it's like Hampshire Community College or something like that. North Hampshire, Northampton. I don't know. I could look it up. Anyway, she was there, and that was around the same time that he was going to that school. So he very well might have gone to a book signing with Margaret Atwood. She's a ridiculously intelligent intellect who's written books that are way ahead of her time. I've had the fortune of reading her books. I've had the fortune of meeting her in person, even shaking her hand at a book signing in Seattle 30 years ago. She's an incredible individual. And let me just say, she seemed old 30 years ago. And that's not like me being being critical of her. That's not criticism. When I asked if I could shake her hand, she even said to me, You may, but please be gentle. I'm much more frail than I look. And she actually looked frail 30 years ago. So, yeah, she's old. She's probably in her 80s, but she's very sharp. She's a very intelligent writer. And why was that story injected into the Idaho 4 case with all that? Because even if he was there, I don't think that that's his head on his body in that picture in the front row with his little Handmaid's Tale book in his lap and a big grin on his cheesy face. I think that's photoshopped. And then it takes me to the Kylie Rodney case with all the uh, references in Kylie Rodney's case to the Idaho 4. I'm sorry, to that was a Freudian slip, to the Handmaid's Tale. I don't know if there's any bridge between Kylie Rodney's case, Trinity Backus's case, and Idaho 4 or not. A lot of the names are the same, a lot of parallel universal stuff, and then you got Bethany Funk and Zanime. So you have Xana Kernodle, and then you had Zanime douchebag from San Francisco who just happened to have her little doggy hazmat with her, and she just happened to be canoeing around with the arrow on the beach. Remember that crap? And then her friend Charlie Holderman, the trans deaf individual who also was battling cancer, who was like 31 and looked creepy. He looked creepy, being that he was a lot older than the kids, the teenagers in the Kylie Rodney case, but he hung out with them. Like, he looked to me like he was a dealer, probably. And then finding out that that was Anime's friend, the one that allegedly had cancer that she was visiting. So she just happened to be there. She just happened to have her canoe with her. She just happened to decide to go out spur of the moment and look for Kylie Rodney. But Kylie Rodney's mother, with her Handmaid's Tale references on her Facebook profile and such, just really weird crap. And then the whole thing with the OnlyFans with the Idaho 4 case, OnlyFans with Trinity Backus's fake Auntie Ashley and her mother, Andrea Stanio. So I forget Ashley's last name, whose house Trinity Backus was at, but Andrea Stanio has a massive following on OnlyFans, and so does fake Auntie Ashley. And that was when I first learned about OnlyFans. I had no idea what it was. And then the whole OnlyFans with the Idaho 4. Then it made me wonder if there was like OnlyFans stuff going on in Truckee, with Scammy. And I mean, that's a way that a lot of people make money. I feel like it's an unfortunate thing because it's like soft porn and it's just kind of creepy, selling images of yourself to get by. I understand that a lot of people need to do that, and I don't want to pass judgment on those people. To me, it's just kind of sick and sad and dangerous. So if all of these sorority chicks at the University of Idaho had their OnlyFans things, wouldn't that set them up to be stalked by creeps and pervs? um Annabes. Sorry, I hadn't looked to see who was the mod that was in house yet. Here I am. How many minutes later? Oh, okay, only 5. Thanks for being here. Sorry, I was all distracted in my thoughts. Because yeah, once I start reading the comments, then I get distracted from my thoughts. So I have to try to keep that balance, which is part of what makes it fun. Because it's challenging going back and forth, remembering what you're talking about and then reading your comments. And it's horrible if I fall behind or don't catch some of the comments. And it's a challenge to keep up. And I love a challenge. So Anna B says, hi, Jazz Nancy, K Mac, and everyone. That pic looks so photoshopped. Oh yeah, the one with Margaret Atwood over his shoulder. I mean, the man that's sitting there, who's I believe it's his face photoshopped onto, because the neck, he's got no neck and it's all weird like that. But the man's body is a little bit bigger and beefier than Koberger. Koberger was a pretty slight guy. I mean, he was hefty when he was young, and then he was a runner and thin. Um, the person in that photograph was like beefy, muscular, like a big firefighter guy. He had like the big, beefy, like Chippendale's thighs and the big, beefy Chippendale's torso, and then the small head like squished in like this. I mean, you look at that photo and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's like they almost did a good job photoshopping it. They should have blown his head up just a little bit. And then you could say, okay, well, his thighs just look really beefy in that photograph. But those aren't his freaking thighs. Give me a break. That's not the pencil neck guy in the photo with the what the ninja nerd. Fred Field, hello. I fell asleep and missed the start here. Well, I'm glad you got your rest, my dear. I still think it was a fight, but there were many things we found out while in pursuit of the truth about Kylie's deletion. Well, yeah, Kylie and Scammy were in a fight. We pretty much know that. It's so easy to forget because we get so swamped with crap. But yeah, remember, I mean, one of the things that convinces me the most, other than everything and how they talked about it constantly, it was a friendly fight. It was Fight Club. There was no beef. It was just for entertainment, just to keep the party going. Um, but when AWP was out on the water and Doug Bishop got the call, and the person on the phone was saying something about the fight with Sammy, and he says the person's name of who Kylie was fighting with, and it's bleeped out. It's redacted from the video, but you can see his mouth moving like he's saying Sam. And I mean, Sam admitted to the whole thing that she was like the organizer of the friendly fighting. um a lot of people talked about Kylie being in a rumble. And then I almost said it, but I didn't. The whole thing with Zanime saying that she took a tumble in Truckee. And she said, I was walking down the hill and I had my cell phone and my charger and my little dog hazmat and all this stuff. And I got rolled. Like that's also street lingo for like getting beat up. I got rolled. And taking a tumble is a lot like getting into a rumble. But she had all kinds of bruises on her, and Scammy had all kinds of bruises on her. So what the F happened? Were the two of them fighting, Kylie? I think a lot of people have wondered that over the course of the last almost 3 years that we're coming up on next month. And then the whole thing, at first, Annabise, I thought you were talking about fighting, that you think it was a fight with the Idaho 4, because there's that too, that Ethan Chapin was in a rumble with David Loach, allegedly, because David Loach had designs on Ethan's gal, Xana, and David Loach allegedly was abusing steroids, and allegedly he was hitting on Xana as per the usual, allegedly, and then Ethan allegedly was making fun of his small nads, because when you abuse roids, it shrinks your junk. So there's that allegation of the fight. Then there's the whole thing with the freaking brain on the dumpster that not enough people talk about enough, in my opinion. That whole brain on the dumpster thing, that was a call made to the police station on Tuesday for the dad that dropped his son off and saw the brain on the dumpster, and then didn't call it in until Tuesday. And then Brett Payne took the call and said, oh, not to worry, it's probably just an animal's. Like, what the F are you doing with a brain on a dumpster? And everything is going to come under suspicion on a night that there's a quadruple homicide, especially a brain on a dumpster right next to, I'm pretty sure it was the dumpster of the frat house, Sigma Chi. And Sigma Chi, they have that whole history with Brad Pitt was a Sigma Chi from wherever he went to college, and that whole Fight Club thing. Then you got the Fight Club thing as part of your Gabby Petito case. And then there was like maybe a Fight Club kind of thing with the Idaho 4. And in addition to the alleged battle for Xana or what have you, allegedly between David Loach and Ethan. I mean, it just makes your head spin. It just makes your head spin. It's a bunch of crap. But I think it's important, in my opinion, it's important for me to kind of like pull back and get a wider lens view of the bigger picture, of the misogyny, of the sexism, of the Handmaid's Tale type of crap, which is also going on in our government administration, in my opinion. It's the same type of thing, the exact same type of thing with the Epstein files, the denial of the Epstein files, the deletion of Virginia Giuffre that I don't believe was a self-deletion. I don't. At first I did. I've done a lot of deep diving into it. I've mostly looked at information of people that believe that it was self-deletion, but I don't buy it. Like, I mean, come on, she took down the freaking Prince Andrew and got millions of the royal family's dollars. And she took down little E and she took down Ghislaine. And she wasn't done. She was not done. Like, there were active lawsuits. There's a lot of paperwork in the home, her home, where she suffered her misadventure by self or other. And she passed away pretty much the exact same way RFK Jr.'s second wife passed away. Oh, the lovely, beautiful brunette. It'll come to me. I've done a lot of videos about her lately. So RFK Jr. was going through a very contentious divorce. They had 4 kids, and she allegedly self-deleted in such an identical situation to the way Virginia Giuffre self-deleted. They both had horses. They were both at their large ranch estates all by self. Let's see. She passed away a long time ago, but he started dating her when she was 15 and he was 21, allegedly, in my opinion. Like she said shortly before she lost her life that she had been carrying around his family secrets since she was 15 years old. So he hooked up with her when she was friends with his 15-year-old sister. And he was 21. So that would be jailbait. And so even though they got married many years later, because he married someone else, and let me get her name here. RFK Jr.'s wife who's deceased. Mary Richardson Kennedy. 2012. She was 52 years old. They'd been separated since 2010. They were in a very contentious custody battle. And then wasn't he married to somebody else before? He's married to Cheryl Hines now. Let's see. RFK Jr.'s wives. So Cheryl Hines since 2014. So that was, he could have been dating her the time that Mary Richardson Kennedy passed away. Let me see what that says about when they met, because it was just 2 years after she passed away. So Emily Ruth Black was somebody he was married to for 12 years, but I don't think they have any kids. Emily Black. They were married for a long time. But Cheryl Hines, when did he meet her? Or when does he say that he met her? Um, Year met RFK Jr. Let's see. Cheryl Hines. It's not. What year did Cheryl Hines and RFK Jr. meet? RFK Jr. met Cheryl Hines in what year? Oh, they first met in 2006. They were introduced by their mutual friend Larry David. I wonder if that probably is the guy, like the creator of Seinfeld and stuff, since Cheryl is an actress. Um, they met at a ski weekend fundraiser for the Waterkeeper Alliance, and for all we know, it could have been at the Lost Trail Lodge. Right? I'm kidding, not kidding. I mean, the only reason a joke is funny is because it could be true. Um, so yeah, RFK Jr. was a serial philanderer, and he probably did start sleeping with her around 2006, which would explain also the he was probably cheating on his first wife the entire time with Mary Richardson, in my opinion, because when there was one point in their relationship where he said that he really believed in monogamy. Just out of the blue, he said to her, I really believe in monogamy. It's a beautiful thing. And her response was, well, then why haven't you been practicing it for the past 10 years? But that was right before they got married. So that he had been with that first wife for 12 years, and he had known this one before he married the first one. So he could have been having an affair with Mary Richardson from the time she was 15 all the way up until he started having the affair with Cheryl Hines, or concurrently, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. How do you keep up with these mofos? But RFK Jr. is all over the freaking Epstein files. He went to Epstein Island. I'm also suspicious that Keg's breath is all over those Epstein files. Um, yes, for sure, Jazz. His head looks so weird on that body. Sammy had so much truth leakage as well as Zanime in that Truckee local. Oh, that Truckee local is such a piece of crap. It was hilarious when she would like trash me on Squirrels on Fire and other channels. She hated me. And I was like, don't you realize like that's a compliment to be hated by somebody like that? And she just like, why hate me? What did I do? I never interacted with her, I don't think. No, and then there was one point where I did, where I got onto a live that she was on Squirrels on Fire. It was like 2 in the morning or 4 in the morning. I can't remember it. I could go back and replay it. I did for a while. I replayed it a lot the next morning because I said something to her. She was talking about her daughter Daisy being best friends with Scammy, and I was like, "Wouldn't you be afraid that Scammy might do to your daughter what she did to Kylie?" And then I think we'd been on this live together for like 2 hours, and I was trying to like be really polite and quiet the whole time. But then after a couple hours, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I said that. It was like 4 in the morning. And then she burst out in tears. But at first, I thought she was laughing, and I couldn't tell which it was. And then I asked her, like, are you laughing? Are you crying? And, and then I felt kind of bad. Like, and she just like dropped off of the live, and I stayed on, and I was sort of like, oh, oops. And I wasn't sure. It was late. I wasn't thinking clearly. That was back when I had to be at work before 7 every morning, and I probably had to work the next morning, but I did that. And so then I listened to the live. I watched the live a handful of times in the morning because I was like, well, what happened? And do I need to apologize? Like, what did I say? Did I hurt someone's feelings? And I listened to it and watched it a bunch of times, and I was like, I think I'm good. Like, I don't take any of that back. And then she acted like I was Satan for a really long time. And then she started talking like, oh, I had to be afraid that she might have done that to my daughter. Like, she started saying the same thing that I was asking her about, basically. And it was just like, I think what would explain a lot of YouTube problems and conflicts, especially like the head on collisions that people might have with their channels or in the chat or on the panels, whatever. I think a lot of it can be explained by like drunk YouTubing. And I'm going to bet you that that woman, MK Ultra, MC Ultra, whatever you want to call her, that she was shit faced, drunk, that on that live and on probably most days of her life, she seemed like an alcoholic to me. And I hope she comes after me for saying that. No, I'm sure she doesn't watch my channel. Somebody might tell her, right? Um, anyway, she'd been on that panel with Shan and Squirrels on Fire for hours. I want to say she'd been on there for like 4 hours, and I'd only been on for like 2 hours, and I was exhausted. And I always thought, she needed to like be done with being on the panel and probably just take a rest, because she had come from another panel. She'd been on Watts the Obsessions panel for probably 4 hours prior that same night, right before she came on to Shan's Squirrels on Fire. I'm going to try to get the link to that live and put it in the description, because I've done that at times and put like the time stamp of when we had this little conflict, so you guys can check it out for yourselves. I wonder, um, I hope it's still up. I hope it's still up. We'll see. Um, Annabes, thank you for all your awesome conversation. Let me catch up. This is 12 minutes old. Oh, I have suspicion that Ethan and Xana may have deleted at the frat party and then taken to the house. I've consistently had that possibility go through my thought process, and I've never been able to rule that out as a distinct possibility. In fact, I believe that that it really could be accurate. 1,000% could be accurate. And then that could be why they put the brain on the dumpster. And yes, of course, it was an animal brain, unless it was from a human. Those are your only options. When Payne said the exact quote, because Bubbly Waters got the transcript of the 911 phone call, or actually the conversation when Payne took the call. So it was Tuesday after this quadruple homicide, and he's the lead detective, and he's taking a phone call about just a random animal brain on a dumpster. But his exact words were, "Oh, it's probably just an animal brain." And it's like, probably isn't good enough. Like, you need to know for sure, because if it wasn't, that means it was human. Unless it was a toy, right? Unless it was fake. Or monkey, but that would be an animal. Okay. Anyway, whose was it? Why was it there? Even if it was fake, why was it there? Why is there a brain on a dumpster? That's freaking crazy. And Payne did not even meet with this father face to face. He just took the phone call over the phone and just tried to like put a pin in it and wrap it up and be done with it. Like, to just naysay it. Oh, yuck about RFK Jr. He's so disgusting. I am also going to put a link in the description to some lighthearted comedy. It's one of my favorite little clips from The Daily Show, and it's a choreographer who worked with, in this skit, not in real life, he worked with Elon to help him with his normal body movement um, practicing. And then after he lost his job because of the salute, the putting the heart out to the public on the inauguration day, the way 88 would. And so then the body choreographer lost his job, but then he got a job as a voice coach for RFK Jr. right after. It's hilarious. It's just like a 3-minute skit, and I just love it. I crack up every time. And, not to make fun of somebody for having a grovelly voice. A lot of people have grovelly voices if they have survived lung cancer or something. I've looked up to try to figure out why RFK's got that. I don't think it's from the brainworm, because I think the brainworm happened way after the grovelly voice. I think started when he was about 42 or 43. And it's like a collapse of the vocal cords or something like that. And I don't think they know what caused it, but it seemed like it coincided with like the same age that his father was when his father was assassinated. Like when he turned the age that his father had been assassinated at. I'd have to look it up to be sure. But, with my psychotherapy background, I'm always looking for things like that to see if there's some kind of like psychosomatic situation going on. So, yeah, collapsed vocal cords that I don't think they have an etiology of why it occurred for him at that age and what it was that brought it on. I haven't been able to find that anyway. And, I mean, that's medical information, so that's kind of private unless somebody wants to be public with it. But he's a public figure, and that's what I found online. So, I mean, of course, HIPAA laws apply to most people, but yeah, not so much when you're the dear leader and you're supposed to be transparent with your health issues. Oh, oh, there's another really good article maybe I should read to you. And it kind of explains why dear leader might not be wanting to be transparent with his tax returns, is because allegedly he might have paid off a lot of hush money to families of minors that he abused in that most intimate, violating way. And I'll maybe pull that up and read it to you. But Jez, there is no little E list. Exactly, Anna Bees. I'm like, why don't they just say that little E was just like a hologram? he never existed, right? I was there. I remember listening to that. Shan used to have so many marathon lives. Exactly, Anna Bees. That's awesome that you were there. I'm curious if you want to put in chat like what your impressions were, what in real time when it was happening, or what your impressions were later, if you feel like sharing. Oh, sure. MC Ultra was drinking most of the time, in my opinion, also. Yeah, she admitted to a lot of drinking. She admitted to freaking drink driving. She admitted to drink driving on YouTube. Like, shouldn't she at least get cited for that by the local corrupt law enforcement? And let me drink drive my it's very little cranberry juice, because cranberry juice is so good for you, except I have to be so careful with my sugar. So it's mostly sparkling water. But it could be mostly vodka with just a little bit of cranberry, right? And yeah, when I did drink, vodka and cranberry was one of my favorites. But I have to be careful. I really like pink grapefruit juice. But if I drink pink grapefruit juice, I want vodka in it so bad. Also, like mint mojitos. Those were my fave. Pink grapefruit juice and mint mojitos, not combined. Got to keep them separate. I also really liked red wine because I could tell myself, well, it's good for my blood, right? It's good for your like red blood cell count or something. But not when you drink the whole bottle. Yes, the life of an addict. She was drink driving while talking to Shan on the phone. I remember that, Anna Bees. Okay, I want to share with you a thing that is really bad. This I will try to put a link to it in the description. It's from Facebook, and I'm not on Facebook, and I don't even usually look at stuff that people send me from Facebook because I don't want to. It's a slippery slope. And again, as an addict, I don't want to mess around with Facebook. But this was on a friend's page. This is really long, and I'm gonna try to put a link to it in the description. But I'll just read it. An anguished question from a Trumpster Fire supporter. Why do liberals think Trumpster Fire supporters are stupid? The serious answer. Here's what the majority of anti-Trumpster Fire voters honestly feel about Trumpster Fire supporters en masse. That when you saw a man who had owned a fraudulent university intent on scamming poor people, you thought, fine. And then there's a link to an article about it. That when you saw a man who made his business practice to stiff his creditors, you said, okay. And there's another link to back that up. That when you heard him proudly brag about his own history of ex abuse, you said, no problem. Another article about misconduct. That when he made up stories about seeing Muslim Americans in the thousands cheering the destruction of the World Trade Center, you said, quote, not an issue, end quote. That when you, and all of this has links to support these statements, that when you saw him brag that he could shoot a man on Fifth Avenue and you wouldn't care, you exclaimed, quote, he sure knows me, end quote. That when you heard him relating a story of an elderly guest of his country club, an 80-year-old man who fell off a stage and hit his head, to Trumpster Fire replied, oh my God, that's disgusting. And I turned away. I couldn't, he was right in front of me and I turned away. I didn't want to touch him. He was bleeding all over the place. And I felt terrible because it was a beautiful white marble floor and now it had changed color, became very red. You said, that's cool. I've never even heard about this one. So this is from a Donald Trump, Howard Stern interview. I'm going to reread it. That when you heard him relating a story of an elderly guest of his country club, an 80-year-old man who fell off of a stage and hit his head, to Trump replied, sorry, OMG, that's disgusting. And I turned away. I couldn't, he was right in front of me and I turned away. I didn't want to touch him. He was bleeding all over the place. And I felt terrible because it was a beautiful white marble floor. And now it had changed color, become very red. You said, quote, that's cool. I also want to point out that when you have an injury, a cut anywhere on your head, that heads bleed profusely. So let's say you got your ear clipped by a pew-pew, and you had the red stuff coming out. It would be profusely. It would be like all over. And I'm going to put a clip to a video about that. I'll put the link in the description later. Okay. Again, this is kind of long and sorry for the screaming child in the background. I might need to tell her to quiet down. That when you saw him mock the disabled, you thought it was the funniest thing you ever saw. That when you heard him brag about he doesn't read books, you said, well, who has time? That when the Central Park Five were compensated as innocent men convicted of a crime they didn't commit, he angrily said that they should still be in prison. You said, that makes sense. That when you heard him tell his supporters to beat up protesters and that he would hire attorneys, you thought, yes. That when you heard him tell one rally to confiscate a man's coat before throwing him out into the freezing cold, you said, what a great guy. Again, that's not one I'm familiar with. The name of the article in the link is Trump orders protesters' coat confiscated and he is sent into the cold. That you have watched the parade of neo-Nazis and white supremacists with whom he curries favor while refusing to condemn outright Nazis, and you said thumbs up. That was hideous when Heather, oh, what was her name? Heather Hayes was murdered by the white supremacist via his car at that peaceful protest. And Donnie said, there's good people on both sides. Is he doing the weave? I can't stand him. He's a scumbag piece of crap, in case you couldn't tell. I try to be respectful of both sides, but it gets harder and harder. Okay, here we go. That you hear him unable to talk to foreign dignitaries without insulting their countries and demanding that they praise his electoral win. You said that's the way I want my president to be. 1 second. Hey, sweetie, why so loud? Thanks. I have been on for a long time. She's probably like, hurry up, Mom. Okay. I've been on for, it's going to be another 2-hour one. Because I interrupted myself, and so now I can't remember what it was I was going to say. But as I was reading this, I was going to interrupt myself, but I'll read that again. Oh, it was a thing about the tariff letters that he's been sending out, and how happy I am that it looks like mainstream media is finally sick of his crap. Even Fox is sick of his crap. And they're calling him out because he and his buddy, the Scott Bessent guy, the billionaire in the Barbie mansion, they don't even speak fiscal comprehension. Like they can't understand a thing about money, in my opinion. They are complete fraudsters, and it's more and more apparent. They have no clue what a freaking tariff is, and it's really hard to say freaking instead of the other word. They have no clue what an effing tariff actually is. Like, no country pays the tariff except our country, but not our country. Our citizens, our private citizens, pay the tariff directly out of our own pockets. Okay, that's the only place that the money comes from. Like, he can't freaking wrap his brain around it. What brain? Somebody left it on the dumpster. That's what that was. Okay. Ugh. All right, let's go. Where's this? That you have watched him remove expertise from all lawyers of government in favor of people who make money off of eliminating protections in the industries they're supposed to be regulating. And you have said, what a genius. That's 4D chess, man. That you have heard him continue to profit from his businesses, in part by leveraging his position as president to the point of overcharging the Secret Service for space in the properties he owns. And you have said, that's smart, quote unquote. That you have heard him say that it was difficult to help Puerto Rico because it was in the middle of the water. And you have said, quote, that makes sense, end quote. It was one of the wettest in terms of water. That is one of my favorite quotes of his of all time. It's one of the wettest in terms of water. And, you know, it's an island in the middle of the water. And it's big, big water, ocean, water big. The man is freaking genius. That can't tie his shoes. Okay. Okay, that you have seen him start fights with every country from Canada to New Zealand while praising Russia and, quote, falling in love with the dictator of North Korea. And you have said, that's statesmanship. That's statesmanship. Yeah, I've heard people say, you know, he's really good with foreign policy. It's like, what, sucking off Putin and who's North Korea? I can't even think. I'm thinking the Chinese President Xi, and then North Korea is that other guy. You know. Oh, it just bugs me when my brain starts failing. What's the North Korean guy? Oh, and here I am, like, looking for my phone that's in my hand. That's so funny. I have to delete that out of the video. OMG, that's hilarious. what is it? Is it North Korean? It's a lot like Z, the guy who's the president of China. I want to say Ping. Anyway, I'll look it up later when I find my phone. Oh, you got to make fun of yourself, right? That's the best. Yeah, North Korean. It's like Chow Ping or something like that. Anyway, I'll look it up. If I remember, can you write it down in the chat so I don't forget? That Trump separated children from their families and put them in cages, managed to lose, and maybe you put it in there already, managed to lose track of 1,500 kids, has opened a tent city incarceration camp in the desert in Texas. He explains that they're just animals. And you said, well, okay, then. Well, see, and this is prior to the alligator crap. And yeah. And I was thinking about the like 20,000 Ukrainian children that Putin claims he has, that we have record of him having in Russia. 20,000 Ukrainian kids. What? Don't forget to look up North Korea. You're the best. Do you want to look it up for me and type it in there? Either way is good. Thank you, Annabise. And I'll read the other comments that I haven't caught yet in just a second. That you've witnessed all the 1,001 other manifestations of corruption and low moral character and low IQ, mind you. He's a low IQ person. Low moral character and outright animalistic rudeness and contempt for you, the working American voter, and you still show up grinning and wearing your MAGA hats and threatening to beat up anyone who says otherwise. Isn't that sweet? What you don't get, Trumpster Fire supporters, is that our succumbing to frustration and shaking our heads, thinking of you as stupid, may very well be wrong and unhelpful, but it's also, hear me, charitable. Because if you're not stupid, we must turn to other explanations, and most of them are less flattering. Like you're maybe Adolf supporter as well. Maybe or certainly, in my opinion. Okay. Kim Jong-un, thank you, my dear. Thank you. Oh, and I found my phone. Where are my glasses and my hat? I lost my hat. Okay, here we go. Oh, for sure. I already read that one. Let me highlight it. The MC Ultra. And she was drink driving with Shan. Okay, I didn't highlight that one either, but I read it. I thought she was a train wreck. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure she's the one who has destroyed some content creators' YouTube channels and harassed the F out of them and doxed them. Pretty sure that that's one and the same genius, high IQ person, right? And what, she's in her 40s and she's afraid of her daddy. She's afraid of her daddy. Like, she doesn't tell her daddy what she's really doing but then she'll say it on YouTube, like, oh, my dad had better not find out. Big D. Doesn't she call him Big D? Like, who is he really? I think he was like the mayor of Truckee or something like that, like a really high profile position for a long time. Like, she's part of an important family, muy importante. Yeah. And wasn't her son at the party that didn't happen? The alleged party in the sanctuary? The friendly fight? LOL Jazz, I can't believe he is our president for the second time. Every day he does something more horrible. Well, see, that's why I really don't believe that he won the second time, which I guess I was reluctant to believe that he won the first time, but I was like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of MAGA people. All right. Yeah. And then with the second time around, it was so obvious that he wasn't only going to not win, but that the opposing party was going to like wipe the floor up with his freaking squirrel on his head. But that's not a squirrel on his head. It's attached. You know, he's got one of those comb overs that's like a mile long when you take it down. He does his own hair. My God. Oh, and there's all these audio recordings of Little E, you know, the hologram that didn't exist. He has like dozens of hours, if not hundreds of hours of interview time with Michael Wolff, the author, who has also written like biographies or autobiographies, I think, with Trumpster Fire. So Michael Wolff was a trusted person in Trumpster Fire's, you know, he was on the inside track. And he probably has to have like the equivalent of Secret Service agents surrounding him at all times, because he's been revealing a lot of truths, allegedly, unless it's all lies and it's all fake recordings of not Jeffrey, not Little E. So the last couple of days, there's been a ton of recordings dropped of Little E talking about Little T, and really bad things, really incriminating things. Like what I read you wasn't even anything incriminating, because there's a lot more. And let me just see if I can find it real quick, or maybe I should save it for another one since we're already at 2 hours. But it's some crazy crap. Yeah, I wanted to share with you about the lawsuits. That's actually what I thought I was reading. I apologize for that. And I don't know if I'd be able to find it, since that's what I thought that was. Oh, here we go. I found it. What do you know? We're going past 2 hours, people. This is long also, and I will try to put a link to this in the description also. It's another Facebook thing. So, are you ready? This is long. Let me see how long. It's super long. But no, it's not. It's not super long. It's not going to be that bad. Don't worry. And then I'm going to stay caught up with you guys. Read this. And we'll chat, and then we'll wrap it up. Yes, Big D, we believe her son was there, but she denies it. Right. Now, I'm pretty sure he was there. And I'm thinking Daisy was probably there too. Oh, and Daisy went to college in Idaho, Boise specifically, I think, which is where Dylan's from. Just another coincidence. I mean, Boise's not a small town, but it's also not that big of a city. And then the university, it's a good size university. Because I know that the school that Dylan's mother worked at, because she was another University of Idaho alum, she, I think, worked at the main branch in Moscow, but then she was working more recently, when this whole thing happened, at the Boise alternative campus, or second campus, or I don't know. Satellite campus, I think is what you would call it. So I don't know if that's where Daisy went to school, but if she did, then that's probably not a very high population of a school, since it's the satellite campus. I'll look into that later. I'm going to stay focused on reading this. Are you ready? And I'm going to share this on the link in the description. Folks probably don't know of the sexual assault cases with Trumpster Fire involved with adults reported in the mainstream media. But it goes beyond the cases that involve women and adults. These cases indicate Trumpster Fire has a disturbing and disgusting taste for children. In addition to Stephanie Clifford, aka porn actress Stormy Daniels, and former Playboy model Karen McDougal, Cohen, Trump's lawyer, reportedly helped settle a number of rape cases involving Trump. WMR, which is, I'm not sure, received a list from a reputable Republican source of these settlement claims, all of which involve male and female minors. And it has their names. I'll just use their initials. I mean, I'll put the link to this in the description, but rather than speaking their names, since this boy was 10 at the time. So, number one, MP, 10 years old, Oral Grape, Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach, Florida, 1992. Trumpster Fire paid his parents a $3 million settlement. Number two, KF, 12 years old, $1 million settlement paid in 1989. Allegations of forced intercourse. Trumpster Fire Tower, New York, New York. Number three, CB, 11 years old, 3 million. Allegations of oral and anal, 1994, Trumpster Fire Tower, New York, New York. Number four, RC, 13 years old, intercourse and oral. Trumpster Fire Vineyard Estates, Charlottesville, Virginia. Oh, Charlottesville, where Heather Hayes was murdered. You know, by the good people on the other side, by a good person on the other side. That was in 2012. $5 million settlement. Number five, MO, 12 years old. Her family was paid $16 million to settle allegations of forcible intercourse occurring in Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach, Florida, 1993. Number six, KN, 11 years old, anal grape, Trumpster Fire Tower, New York, New York, 1998. Settlement details unknown. 5 of the 6 alleged incidents took place at 2 of Trumpster Fire's best known properties, Trumpster Fire Tower in New York City and Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida. The exception is incident number 4, which is the most recent, 2012, and took place at Albirmi Estate at Trumpster Fire Winery. Donnie and his son, that's not named after him, Trumpster Fire, opened the facility as a B&B in May of 2015. The child Rex settlements might explain Trumpster Fire's reluctance to disclose his tax returns. WMR reports and documents indicate our president is a deeply troubled individual. WMR's GOP source indicated that Trumpster Fire had refused to release his tax returns because they will reveal many out-of-court settlements he has paid to silence his assault victims and their families. And let me just say alleged assault victims and their families. The list of Trumpster Fire's child victims came with an interesting reference point that was apparently part of the documentation in the settlement cases. Trumpster Fire was designated with a psychiatric disorder referenced in the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, DSM-5. The reference disorder is pedophiliac disorder, F65.4, described below. And it's got the code. It's a billable medical mental health condition. The following code contain annotation, back references that may be applicable. Mental and behavioral and neurodevelopmental disorders, approximate synonyms, pedophilia, pedophilia, same and opposite gender, pedophiliac disorder, sexually attracted to both males and females. Clinical information, a disorder characterized by recurrent sexual urges, fantasies, or behaviors involving sexual activity with a prepubescent child or children. A sexual disorder occurring in a person 16 years or older that is recurrent with intense arousing fantasies, urges, or behaviors involving activity with a prepubescent underage 13 or younger. And then it goes on with diagnostic related groups, other mental disorder diagnoses, code history. Trumpster Fire has paid roughly $30 million to settle child type complaints brought against him since 1989. Here's the case involving Katie Johnson versus Epstein and Trumpster Fire. He violently raped 13-year-old Katie Johnson because she reminded him of his daughter. Then he threatened her life. Plaintiff was enticed by promises of money and a modeling career to attend a series of parties with other similarly situated minor females. And the reason why I read that name is because this is a lawsuit. I don't think it was settled. Let me finish reading. Those other ones were settled out of court, but they're still public information. Let's see. Plaintiff enticed by promises of money and a modeling career to attend a series of parties with other similarly situated minor females held at a New York City residence that was being used by defendant Jeffrey Little E. At least 4 of the parties were attended by defendant Trumpster Fire. By this time in 1994, defendant Trumpster Fire had known defendant Little E for 7 years and knew that plaintiff was then just 13 years old. Defendant Trumpster Fire initiated sexual contact with plaintiff at 4 different parties. On the 4th and final sexual encounter with defendant Trumpster Fire, defendant Trumpster Fire tied plaintiff to a bed, exposed himself to plaintiff, trigger warning, and then proceeded to forcibly rape plaintiff. During the course of the savage sexual attack, plaintiff loudly pleaded with defendant Trump to stop, but with no effect. Defendant Trumpster Fire, I didn't say Trumpster Fire a second ago, whoops, responded to plaintiff's pleas by violently striking plaintiff in the face. I read this lawsuit to you guys. This is the one that I called the Epstein file. The Little E file. This is the one I read a couple weeks ago. Violently striking plaintiff in the face with his open hand and screaming that he would do whatever he wanted. Immediately following this assault, defendant Trumpster Fire threatened plaintiff that were she ever to reveal any of the details of the sexual and physical abuse of her by defendant Trumpster Fire, plaintiff and her family would be physically harmed, if not illed with a K. Both defendants let plaintiff know that each was very wealthy. Sorry, let me read that again. Both defendants let plaintiff know that each was a very wealthy, powerful man, and indicated that they had the power, ability, and means to carry out their threats. Indeed, defendant Trumpster Fire stated that plaintiff shouldn't ever say anything if she didn't want to disappear like Maria, $16 million settlement, a 12-year-old female that was forced to be involved in the 3rd incident with defendant Trumpster Fire, and that plaintiff had not seen since that 3rd incident, and that he was capable of having her whole family illed with a K. So there's an article here that says child kidnapping red rum, Trumpster Fire's victim Maria, and it says new information emerges in Maria's story. Why the new child rape case filed against Donald Trumpster Fire should not be ignored. Child rape, legal filings on pedophilia, payoffs by Trumpster Fire, court documents in the pictures. And then it has a biblical quote, "For there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, nor hidden that will not be known. Therefore, whatever you have spoken in the dark will be heard in the light, and what you have spoken in the ear in inner rooms will be proclaimed on the housetops." Luke 12:20 through 2 through 3. So that's that. Oh, we're just over 2 hours. So where was the last one? That he is so disgusting. The right says how they want all deviants put under jail, but he is their savior. So gross. I know. He's always talking about that trafficking is so evil. It's like, isn't that you that's doing it? in my opinion, allegedly. I don't know. These elites are empty shells and they have to do the most disgusting things to feel anything. Oh, I spelled N North Korea leader wrong. It's Kim Jong Un. Oh, thank you. I think that's probably what I said, right? And oh, I see you. Um, oh, that's funny. It was the same letters. Yeah, it looked right to me. I think I probably said it the right way. I don't remember now, but yeah, Kim Jong Un, and then President Z. It's spelled with an X. XI is the president of China. I don't know why I was thinking that had anything to do with Kim Jong Un's name because that's obviously nothing. I think you said it right. Well, thank you, Annabise. Thanks for looking it up for me since I couldn't find my phone. I am just gotta laugh after that hideous, heart wrenching, gut wrenching, and I apologize for anybody who was triggered by it. I hope that anybody who would have been triggered by it logged off or fast forwarded or whatever, shut it down. And for all I know, this whole video will get shut down. I mean, the problem is that all these oligarchs are in control of our media, and that includes YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap her up. I'm going to try to continue to make videos every day this week. If you don't hear from me, please come find me. No, I'm just kidding. you know, um, yeah, you just never know. But it's like live free or die. You got to speak the truth. And if there's children being assaulted and hurt like that, if there's children that are freaking disappearing in floods, like sometimes a child disappearing in a flood might not be avoidable, but I feel like that whole thing with that Camp Mystic was illegal AF. These children shouldn't have been in the places where they were housed. They should have had a safety training. They should have had an escape plan. They should have been warned about the storms and the river surge, and there should have been like a disaster plan. It's sort of like they didn't have that. I'm thinking that they didn't have a safety plan, that they didn't have an escape plan. You know, if things were getting bad at about between 4 and 5 in the morning and they didn't know what to do with 750 sleeping campers, they should have sounded a siren and just done what they could to get people out of there. I don't think they even sounded a siren while it was happening. And like I had described to you, that one story of the man who owned the general store, who said that he got like a siren on his cell phone, like, severe evacuation alert about a flood when he was standing on the um, meter reader box on the outside of his store slash house, unable to get to the roof because his rain gutter had broke. And I don't know if that was because it was a weak rain gutter or if it had broke because of the storm. It probably broke because of the storm. It probably had been weakened from all of that weight of all of that water. All right, I'm going to wrap up. I love you, dear Anna Bees, and my other viewers. I really do. I really appreciate the support in seeking truth and justice, because sometimes it's an uphill battle, and it's good to have a community. It's good to have a support system. Bye, everyone. I hope you all have a great day. Yes, and I'm going to get all those links. It might take me a few hours, but I'll get it done as quickly as I can. Certainly, by the time I make my next video tomorrow, I should have them all in the description. And yeah, I always want to check my work. I always want to check my facts. I appreciate anybody fact checking me. I really do. If you think I'm wrong, call me out. If you think I'm inaccurate, if you think I'm stupid, go ahead and say it. I mean, if you're a troll, bring it, and if you just think that I might have been incorrect, bring it. I really want to be accurate. So I think it's important for all of us to speak our minds and speak our truth and get it off our chests. Never want to battle without a bulletproof vest, to quote Sublime. I think I'm making that up, though. I don't think that's the exact lyrics. Um, Something about never have to static with the bullet and get it off my chest, never have to battle with a bulletproof vest. Take a small example, take it off from me. Take all your money, give it all to charity. Don't start a riot. What I got, that's the song that I'm quoting. Sublime. It was very sad that genius who wrote that and so many other great songs like it passed away before he saw the fruits of his labor. I'm so bad at lyrics, LOL. Here, I'll look it up because that's such a great song. I'll put the song into the thing too, the link. Here. Sublime, what I got. Oh, I won't read the whole thing. Life is too short, so love the one you got, because you might run over and you might get shot. Never starting the static, I just get it off my chest. Never have to bullet with a bulletproof vest. Take a small example, take a tip from me. Take all your money, give it all to charity. Love is what I got. It's within my reach, and Sublime styles straight from Long Beach. It all comes back to you. You're bound to get what you deserve. Try and test that. You're bound to get served. Love what I got. Don't start a riot. You feel it when the dance gets hot. Love is what I got. 1996. And that was the year he died. What was his name? I always forget his name. James Bradley. Bradley James Noel. Yeah. It's so sad. He was a junkie. Sorry, he was an addict. Bradley James Noel. And he had a little boy. He had his dog and he had a little boy. So he was born February 22nd, 68, Long Beach. Oh my goodness, he was living in San Francisco when he passed away, and I was living there at the same time. I knew when he passed away. It was 96. It was May 25th. But it says he passed away in San Francisco, and that's where I was living. Because when did we move out of San Francisco? It was right after that. It was probably September of 96. Because I had just graduated right around that exact same day with my master's degree. And we thought we wanted to stay in San Francisco. And we tried, but then my hours at the psychiatric hospital were getting cut all summer and trying to keep up with the cost of living in San Francisco. And then we wanted to buy a house and have kids. So we moved back to Seattle, and the rest is history. Yeah. I did not realize May 25th, 1996. I want to look at the, let's see if this will tell me, one sec. College of Notre Dame, graduation, May 1996, San Francisco. I'm just going to see if it tells me what the date was. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, May 17th, 18th, and 19th. But see, that might include the graduate school and it might not. That might have been that might have just been for undergraduate, because maybe our graduation was the next weekend. Interesting, because Saturday was May 18th and he died the following Saturday, May 25th, in San Francisco. That is so wild. Oh, wait, no, this is Notre Dame in Indiana. This is totally different. Sorry. That's why I said San Francisco, because it always gets confused. Belmont, California, Notre Dame University graduate school commencement ceremony, 1996. May 1996. Let's see what it says now. Okay, this is the right one, and it was also May 17th, 18th, and 19th. But that's funny because no, this is taking me again to the Indiana one. I'll look it up later. It would just be wild if it was like my graduation day. I'll do some research. I'll look at my freaking diploma. I think I know right where it is, and it probably has that exact date on it. That'd be so weird if it's Saturday, May 25th of 96, and it might be. That would really be wild. Anyway, love and light. I'm signing off like I said I was. Eat your protein, eat your veggies, and drink your water. Thanks again for watching.